Testing 1, 2. Mm. Oh. I am here jamming to this music. You guys can't hear it. Yeah, that sounds better. Testing 1, 2. I'm gonna get real close to the microphone. Alright, well the compression's working, so that's good. I'm just like I am straight up jamming, and nobody can hear it. That's about right, really. That works. You can hear me. I can hear music. I've been jamming in silence for like, what is it, the last 6 minutes? That's good. That's good. Oh, we're after a roaring start. We're almost there. I just have to check a couple more things. Oh, let's see here. Bench camera. There. I am here. And bench camera. Alright, let me get the camera dialed in. Let me see here. So I am using the right input. Maybe. You would think that for a setup I don't change, that I wouldn't have to check all this stuff, but it seems that I always tend to miss something. Alright, that works. Alright, good. And the set has arrived. Hello! Here with me, and your patience is appreciated. Get the camera zoomed in. So I got that going. And I gotta go. Where do I gotta go? I gotta go here. And I gotta go here, and I gotta go to that button. And then we're gonna bring it on in. Why hasn't it updated? Come on now. Exciting. Oh. I didn't realize you'd be contacting demons with the new camera. Interesting. I don't know why it's doing that. You're contacting the Kremlin. Come on! Are you really gonna make me switch back? I'm gonna have to switch back, aren't I? No, it's most certainly not meant to do that. Alright, let me switch back to me. Let me reinitialize the source. Nope, not better. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. No worries, I can fix it by us not using it. So give me a moment while I hook the other camera back up. This will only take a moment. Hi, Mr. Sherrill, welcome on in. In true me fashion, I've got issues on startup here, as per usual. Seems like it's almost a guarantee that something's gonna misbehave, especially when I want to use the lab. Naturally. But that's okay, because I didn't remove the other camera completely, I just put it out of the way. So I was going to ask your opinion if you guys liked a camera that had some zoom versus quality. Well, the quality apparently was sold separately. So I'm going to put that over here. I'm going to hook up the other bench camera. I'm going to put it back. Alright, so this has to. Which way did I get this facing? Oh, this is a good one. Wait, no, it was this one. Okay, so yeah, that goes this way. Camera shield. And we're gonna switch up some stuff and some things. Alright, let me see here. I have to fix on the scene now. Actually, have to click on it to see it, so alright. Bear with me a moment. Even further. Got some banging music here. My oh my. Alright, sounds good as set. You enjoy your lurk. We'll be here while I fix some stuff here. That's fascinating. Wow, I can't believe that. Alright, so we need to take this and just turn that off. And then we're gonna turn this one on. Haha! And just like that, we're back in business. See, like I said, I broke it, but I broke it in a way that I can at least fix it. Oh, there's that. Alright, I have woken up the child. I got this now. Let's see here. Alright, so we got that. Hi, Val. How you doing, buddy? This one. Good, good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. What's that one have? Alright, let's turn down this music a smidge. We are like elevator music to the max. I like that I default this to about approximately 5%, and the website forgets that every time I log back in. And it sets it to 25%. And then the music is rocking and rolling, and we're over here going, oh god, my ears. Love it. I love it. Love everything about it. It's fine. Yeah, that's only 25% power. I don't want you guys to have to be subdued by the absolute insanity that this thing could be set to. No, we're not doing that. We have 100% volume. We're gonna knock something over. Oh, goodness gracious. Alright, well, I can admit that didn't quite go as planned with the camera, but hey, you know, it's funny, I tested that too, fairly extensively, to make sure that I understood what I was doing with it, and it just decided to stop functioning. I'm kind of wondering if the air conditioner may have something to do with that. I don't know if that was turned on when I was testing. I blame the air conditioning. I don't know, did I feel like I tested that. I don't know. It frankly doesn't matter. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you for stopping by. Tonight we continue our saga of 30 Days Lost in Space. We're gonna, oh god, I have 100. That's it. They know how many percentages that is. I don't even want to know. I told like what nth degree is that number? That's crazy. We're continuing our saga in 30 Days in Space. We're picking up on day 4. Cabin lighting, and now granted we started with cabin lighting, but now it's about to get even brighter in here. Haha. The reason you guys couldn't hear anything is because I turned off one of my sources, so I'm going to click some buttons. Let's see here now. I want this one. I could see stuff. You guys can see stuff. Closed captioner's working. Hooray. And, well, I'll take it. Alright, I'm gonna turn off music now. And I know what to do to prevent the angry double sound. So, let's see here. Oh, wait, no, that's not the right one. That's the right one. Haha! You know, I love... Alright, hold up a minute here. I like that I could switch between these two different scenes. In one of them, I'm slightly larger, and in this case, the screen's more blue. Or blue? Let's try that again. Well, actually, the other scene is more blue, because one of them is a direct capture, directly from the display, and the other one is a capture from the capture card, so we can both hear the audio, both you and me. Yeah, I love that. All right, love that. I love this. Okay, all right. I got that muted, and now, all right, we should both be able to hear the audio. Okay, so I did not unplug any of the stuff from last time. I am going, oh, 10 to the 64th percent power. Oh god, that is one heck of a percentile. I did not unhook any of what I have here from last time. So, for those of you that may have not have been with us the last time, since I still have this plugged in, I am going to plug this back into power and show you what we were up to. Maybe. I'm thinking about it. All right. Okay, so on our last episode of 30 Days in Space, we took some time to hook up this particular circuit that allows us to control the blinking of our LED. Now, currently, I think something's loose. Ugh. Take off my headphones. Something is loose. Come on now. There we go. Okay. Is that in frame? It is in frame, and it's kind of blurry because it's small, which is why I wanted the other camera. Okay, so this is currently blinking. Something is definitely loose. I love this. I love everything about this. And if I toggle this particular switch, it is now going to stop blinking. And that is because we programmed this so that the LED will only operate if we turn the switch on. And what's happening is that we set the code so that this LED will only turn on and blink in 1 second increments based on the logic that we gave it by the pin that we set it up to. So before we get into tonight's exercise, I'm just going to review the code once more on how we made that particular item work. So I'm going to set this back over into our IDE. I'm on the wrong scene because I'm good like that. That's better. All right, so I'm gonna go to Sketch, and I have to reconnect to our toy. We could do fun stuff. Let's see here. I gotta go to Tools. Oh, it's already selected. Okay, fantastic. Which means that if I were to upload this... Okay, it's like it never left. So last time it made me reconnect to COM3, which is the USB port that this is plugged into, but it seemed to have remembered that this time, which is good. Okay, so from what we had last time before I disconnected, because we're going to have to do some additional toying here, we include our class, which has what all of our commands are. So Arduino.h is the name of our class that we need to include. So this basically just tells the compiler, which is our little window here, what these different things mean when we defined stuff. So when we defined the cabin lights pin as pin 12 on our hardware, well, without that class being brought in, it wouldn't have any idea what the pin 12 is. Same thing with pin 2, which is the switch that we have defined. Now there are 3 switches in that pack, but we're only defining one of them. In the next example that we're getting into tonight, we're going to be defining all 3 of those switches, and we're going to make them do something. I haven't read ahead, so I don't quite know what, but I'm sure we're going to make some more stuff blink. And then we have in our if statement here, so that if the cabin switch lights are in the high position or enabled, electricity is flowing through the switch, then we go into the loop. Well, actually the loop is right there, but we go into this if statement and we turn the lights on, we delay for 2 seconds of on activity, and then turn off for 1 second, and then the loop continues. Else, if the switch was not on, it was off, so then nothing happens. We didn't declare anything in the if else statement, which is why there's no curly braces. It's just a semicolon to complete the statement, because we didn't want it to do anything when it's off. Now, with that being said, we're going to pull up our example, and we're going to continue on this evening to see what else we might be getting ourselves into. Okay, now we should not be getting an echo, because I have turned off that and turned that on. if I did anything correct here. We should be getting some audio when I click play. Hi, Pyrex! Welcome on in!
Ah, welcome, my intrepid explorer, to the grand finale of Week 1, or as some might call it, Day 4. I must confess, you've performed surprisingly well. For a human, that is. Today, we're going to add a touch more complexity and a dash more brilliance to your drowning nightlight. We're fixing the storage room and cockpit lights so you won't have to grope around like a lost mole rat any longer. We're still under an ocean. You're getting cold, and the night is dark and full of scampi. We have a problem. Yes, another one. The hydroponic system that filters your breathable atmosphere needs more light to photosynthesize, soak up your bad breath, and turn it into O2. We need to get the rest of these dip switch circuits operating before whatever's out there starts looking at us like a can of spaghetti. First things first, the hardware. Notice how we've added a couple of LEDs and some extra wires for our dip switch? Don't start flipping switches just yet, though. Without proper instructions in your code, they'll just stare back at you with the cold, lifeless gaze of purposeless tech.
Lovely.
And that brings us to our code, our all-important guide to technological obedience. We're defining 6 new variables that will tell us which pins are pulling their weight in the circuit. In the setup function, we'll use the pin mode function to designate switches as inputs and LEDs as outputs. Finally, we'll march into the loop function and create 3 if statements, our conditional knights in shining armor. They'll relay the status of the 3 dip switches. So, my brave explorer, are you ready to turn our ship bright enough to lure all manner of prey and predators in this unexplored ocean? I know, I'm excited too. Once you've finished wiring, upload your new code to the hero and let there be light. You know the drill. Let's turn to some instructional material I was able to gather cached on the computer. And you guessed it, I've also added this to your mission resources for future reference. I'll see you soon.
Hello and
Hello. I don't need you. I'm here. Okay. Fantastic. I feel kind of bad. I kind of hope they don't watch this video now that I said that. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so we have our circuit, and we're going to hook this up. So it looks like we've got 3 different colored LEDs that we're going to be playing with here this evening. Now, I'm sure, since it didn't specify that our LED, these are just different colors, but they're all the same voltage. And they all have just 2 legs, the positive and the negative. There is an LED that's in this kit that has more than 2 legs, but it's just not a part of this example. That particular piece of hardware, which I will show you since I'm talking about it, does have multiple colors in the same, it's known as a package. That's what an individual LED is referred to, as a package. Same as before, we're going to use the 220 ohm resistors to prevent too much current from going through our LEDs. That's going to protect them from shorting themselves out. Without the resistor in the circuit, it gives it the opportunity to pull as much current as it wants to. Well, the LED has no mechanism to prevent itself from overdrawing, which is what this does. This protects the circuit. And then we are going to hook up all 3 of our dip switches with the same set of, let's see here, what do we got here? Oh, 10,000 or 10K ohm resistor pull down. And what we're going to have here is we are going to have 5 volts directly from the output. That's always 5 volts. This is not configurable. It's 5 volts all the time. Same thing with the rail above it is 3.3 volts. That one is always 3.3 volts all the time, because it's a always on connection. In this case, we're working with 5. We're going to be powering the rail that is at the top of our circuit. Now, you can see here they just popped it in this first hole here. Now, as a little bit of a refresher from last time, the way that these boards are hooked up is that anything in these rail areas electricity flows across all the way down, right? Now the rows here are electrically connected from left to right, right? And then the rails are from top to bottom. That way, anything that's on the left side of the board, I can use holes A, B, C, D, or E, and the break in the center electrically is disconnected from the rest of the alphabet down the end here. So electrically speaking, in row 1, I have A, B, C, D, and E, and these are all electrically connected. And in the same row, the rest of this alphabet, F, G, H, I, and J, are electrically separate from the first half of the alphabet, which is why there's that break in the middle of this breadboard. That is so that we can actually have this connection between this side of the board and this side of the board without shorting stuff out. Because if I took this resistor and I had both legs plugged into 2 of these holes, then I would short it out, right? Well, with this break in the center, electrically speaking, this entire row is not connected because of the break in the center. So we're going to get this all hooked up, and then we are going to figure out what we're going to do coding wise. We're going to take a little preview of this and see what we're up to here. So this does give us, in our example, the notes as to what we're on about. Now in this case, let's see here, we've got some constants being defined, as we can see here, and they're in bytes. So let's see here. The constant declaration adds another word that will indicate what type of value it is to represent. Since pins are small numbers, they fit into a byte, which is an unsigned integer value that can hold values from 0 to 255, not more, not less. Other types you may come across in various Arduino code is uint8 underscore t, or unsigned char, which are the same as a byte. We'll use the term byte in our lesson to indicate 8-bit unsigned integers. So this is a variable, and it can only hold a number between these 2 values. Now, variables can be defined to hold different things, right? In our code, we have the potential to hold numbers. We can hold letters, also known as chars, and strings, right, which are multiple letters, right? Now, if I have a variable in this case and I declare it as a byte, right, that means I can only store from numbers 0 to 255, none of the negatives before that, and not a single number above 255. It includes both the 0 and 255, but nothing else, right? If I try to store a letter, say the letter A, into that variable, it's toast. It won't accept it. It'll throw some kind of error in the compiler telling you that what you're trying to do is going to fail, right? Now, usually it's something fairly cryptic saying that the value types don't match, which I like those little knobs. Yes, indeed. With those, when those types don't match, and this is one of those things that, since the storage is relatively small on a board like this, you don't want to use a variable that takes up more space than you plan on filling, right? Now, I want you to think about the way variables store stuff similar to containers, right? If you're in your kitchen, right, and you had a fantastic meal, right? You just had the best burrito there is on the face of the earth, right? But you have leftovers. Maybe 20 minutes from now you won't have leftovers, but for now you have leftovers, right? So, what are you going to do? Are you going to grab a shoebox? Are you going to grab a Tupperware container? Well, my guess is that you're probably not going to put it in the shoebox. You're probably going to put it in a Tupperware container, because that is the appropriate container to store leftover food. If you have sandals, you're going to put them in a shoebox, right? The same kind of thing happens in computer code. You store what you want to hold in the appropriate container. And when you declare something, you tell the compiler what you're planning on holding in that container. The only thing you have to remember is if you declare a variable is one kind of container, that you don't want to try to stuff something in there that doesn't belong, or it's not gonna like that. So that is going to be a reoccurring theme that we see multiple times over as we look at the different code. I don't know so much if we're going to run into too many letters doing this kind of example work, but just know that if you do any kind of code, you can have a bad time if you try to typecast something that isn't compatible. Shoebox leftovers. Exactly. Now you're on it. See, here we are. Okay, so with that, right, we now have 3 constants. Now, we didn't need the word constant per se, right? But there's a reason that they use this. A constant is a declaration that will not change when something is a constant variable, right? If you try to change a variable that has been declared as a constant, then you're not going to have a good time when you try to change the value. It'll bark at you telling it's constant. Why would we want to use a constant? Well, in this case, our cabin lights are going to be pin number 10. Storage lights are going to be pin number 11. And the cockpit lights are going to be pin 12. Those 3 pins are physically hardwired to our little board in one place, right? And the name of our variable, we don't want the pin number to change. We're declaring it as 10 and 11 and 12. At no point when we go to use our code should we have these numbers change. Because if they do, that means physically speaking, we're switching which pin that variable is declared to be using, which isn't any good. If you hardwire a project, the last thing you want your code to do is switch what pin is reading what unless you intended it, right? There are times that you may want to have something change. In this case, and for the writing of the code, we're going to have it be a constant, right? Not too many cases where I would imagine that you'd be doing something like that, though. Normally, you would just have a different variable per pin. I'm sure someone would want to do it. It would not be me. I would rather my pins be constants. Okay, so now we swing down to here, and then we have our switches, right? And these are the pins that these exist on, and that is going to be pins 2, 3, and 4. That is going to be the physical switch that we're going to be tying up to these 3 pins. And it's the same as before. We want these 3 pins to be exactly the same. Now, in our loop here, if we take a look at this, it is another void loop. And as I had mentioned last time, a void loop is a loop that simply doesn't return anything. It will cycle forever until you run out of power, or if you hit the reset button on the Arduino, right? Or they refer to it as a hero board, same difference. We're going to go into our setup here, right? Setup runs once, and the loop is down here below it, right? Now in our setup, this code only runs once until we either reset the board or it loses power, right? At this point, we are determining what direction the pins are going to be, right? Now in the case of lights, they're going to be output pins. So power is going to go out of these pins. And then the switches are input pins. So we're expecting to detect electricity. Electricity is going to come in to the circuit. And the way that happens, let me scroll back up here, is we're constantly sending 5 volts down the top of our switch, right? And when we flip this into the on position, electricity is going to flow, and it's going to go down into our pins 2, 3, and 4. Now, as the our presenter lady had mentioned previously, these 3 resistors are to pull off any remaining voltage that could be floating around on this end of the circuit that doesn't get fully grounded by the 3 pins that are being detected for electricity. Without these, we can get some strange readings, which is why they're included. And then all that goes back to the ground, which is grounded on this side. And then you have functioning lights after we've programmed it to do such. Which if we take a quick look at our loop here, we take a look, and if the cabin lights are in the on position, then we turn on the lights, else we turn the lights off. No blinking involved, it's either on or it's off, right? And we just managed to do this 3 separate times. So, enough about dissecting that, we're gonna hook this up. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah, and the same as before. Make sure you guys can hear me. Yep, got microphone turned on. I'm going to disconnect my power from my board. Now, I'm always of the mind to work on a circuit when it is powered off. This is something that our friend here does not mention in our little example, that power should be removed when the circuit's not in use. And I do the same each time. So she doesn't mention it, but I'm mentioning it because it's important. Most of the electronics that come with this kit, at least the initial ones, the LEDs and the resistors, wouldn't be the end of the world if you accidentally short one of them out. But I don't have any interest in doing that because I'm not here to damage the equipment. Now, I'm taking a peek at what I have here. I need to grab some stuff out. Let me find our LEDs, which are in here. And we're gonna hook up our green one and our blue one. We got a green one and we got a blue one. Okay. Now, as I had mentioned before, is that there is an LED in this kit that has more than 2 legs, and that is going to be this one that I will show you here momentarily. Alright, let me see if I can get these in frame here. I apologize for the focus. The blue one only has 2 legs, positive and the negative, and then our white one here has 4 legs. So that actually gives us the ability to not only power it, but also to change the color that is able to produce. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, without the example, I don't really know how we're gonna wire it, but that's why we're gonna do it together. But, excited for that one. That's gonna be neat. All right, so we got those, and then we need 2 more of the 220 ohm resistors, which they lovingly marked here on the packaging. I'm holding it upside down. By having 220R, which stands for resistance. In this case, we need 2 more of them, so we're gonna pop these guys out. Now, once I pop them out of this little neatly packaged piece of tape, the way you identify these are via the colored rings. So there's always a gold ring that indicates the end of the colors. So technically I was holding that upside down. And you read it from left to right. And in this case, it is 2 red and 2 black, which equates to 220 ohm resistance. Now, I do not know that off the top of my head, but I've got the colors and I've got labels. So that helps a brother out significantly. Okay, and then we've got 10,000 ohm resistance, which is 1 red, or excuse me, what do we got here? A brown, a red, and 2 black. That is the 10,000 ohm. So before I pop those out, I'm actually going to hook up the other ones first here. Let me see here. So that's a negative rail. I'm going to have to hook up the positive. So we're going to have some of the colors in here with our said diagram. Hobbit, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate that. You've subscribed for 8 months. Oh my heck. that's quite the resub. I appreciate that. Thank you. And this madness that we call Twitch. I'm awfully twitchy, I'll tell you that much. I belong on this platform. Oh god. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little room here. This is part of the reason why I didn't disconnect what was here, because I figured we were probably adding on to what we had so far. And I am going to take a peek at this. And let's see. The longer end is the end where we hook up our resistor, which means I'm going to do exactly the same with the other ones. So I'm going to hook up our blue next to our friend. I think I'm actually going to skip a hole to have a little breathing room here. And then our green, I'm going to do of the same. And then I will show you what I'm up to here, because it's a little hard to seat these. And also show and tell at the same time here. So I have got these three now into the breadboard. We're able to get going on here. And now we're going to add our resistors and our path back to ground. Now, as previously mentioned, there is no electrical direction to our resistor. I can add the power in from this side or from this side, it doesn't matter. Resistors do not have a polarity. I can safely insert this into the board without too much worry. So I'm going to do that. See here, and that's number 11. That's one. And then we're going to hook up another one. And that is in row number 8. I'm hooking this up to. Okay, make sure these are seated nice. Alright, so I got those in there, and then I'm going to grab myself a couple more cables here. So I need to hook up... Actually, before I do that, let me get all the resistors set for our switch. So far I've got our 3 LEDs hooked up, and I've got our 3 resistors into the beginning of our circuit. And you do need to end up hooking up the rest of the end here. And then I also need to get the 3 resistors hooked up to our switches. Now, I want my switches all in the off position, so I'm actually going to toggle that down so it's off. And then I'm going to make myself a little room here on my board here. And then I'm going to hook up the other 2 of my 10K resistors. Now the nice thing is that it does give in the diagram the colors of the resistors. So if you don't manage to keep them in the same order, or you don't retape them, like the way they come, then you can read the labeling and get them back to where you need them. Okay. Get that one in there. And that one in there. And then I need one more to get us off to the races. As such. Now, personally, I like to set the components that I need to hook up first. And then from there, I like to hook up the respective the wiring that goes to the components. There really is no right or wrong way to do that part. That's just my personal preference. The main goal when hooking any of this stuff up is to make sure that you don't accidentally short anything out. So I got these three in here. I got them smushed down a little bit so that they're not touching each other, but they are all hooked into the board. And then I need, let's see here, I need to hook up the positive rail, which, let's see here. So the nice thing is that they give you all these nice colors to work with, and we're going to be using several of them. All right, so we're going to get our positive rolling here. And as I had mentioned, we need the 5 volts on our little friend here. Now, there is labeling on here, which does match with the diagram. So I got that there. And that we're going to plug into the positive on the top of our board here, right? I could plug this into any of these holes alongside this red rail and it'll work just fine. Because electricity is going to pass all the way down this side. Now, if I did need voltage on this positive, then I would either jump these two sides together, or I would plug a wire from here into another one of the available ports on here to be able to do that. So we've got that in action. And then let's see here. So then we need to hook up our ground to ground, which if I'm looking at the diagram correctly, we only need to hook up the ground at the bottom, which we're going to do. Let me see here. Which, oh, okay, I actually have one right here that I already have set aside for the ground. And not that it matters, but we're using the ground on this side of the board. Make sure I plug that into the right port. Nope, I'm off by one. Haha. All right, there we go. Okay, so then that's ground. So now we have 5 volts going in, and we have the ground hooked up to our breadboard. And then all that leaves us left to do is to wire up our switches and our LEDs the rest of the way. So let me see here. So I got those in there. And I need to hook up. This is where the example is going to get a little wiry. Because then on each of these, I need to hook up the negative rail, which is going to be that one. And that one. Yeah, exactly. Be gentle. I'm trying. Let me see here. So I am using 12, 11, and 10 from the top down. So this is going into number 12, which is the second from ground, which is going to be that port right there. And then this one is going to be 11. It appears that I grabbed a cable without another male end. Interesting. I see what I grabbed. This is not that kind of wire, haha. So I grabbed one that doesn't have a second lead. There is a whole bunch of these in the kit that don't have male ends. So mindful of which cable you grab from where, because not all of them are banana plugged. Both sides. But that's okay. I'm gonna just grab another one. It's easy enough to do. Okay, so then that is going into number 10. Like so. And then I'm going to hook that up. And then we got... Was I dumb about this? I might have been. That is the non-resistor side. Oh, I'm sorry. The non-resistor side is supposed to go to ground, not directly into the Arduino. And this is why we double check the diagram. So these actually go over here. As I had mentioned, this was going to become a bit of a wiry mess. So far, what I have hooked up scoot these over a little bit. Make a little room for myself here. Are all the negative leads which come back in the circuit to ground, right? And that I have all stacked up here on the grounding rail, and this wire I have right here is the one that goes to ground on the board, right? And then what I need to do is I need to hook up the resistor side of this circuit into pins 12, 11, and 10. So that was a little bit of a boo-boo, but that's okay. It always pays off to double check not only the diagram, but what you are up to. That makes a world of difference. I'm not going to fully separate these guys because I can conveniently plug all of these directly into our friend here. I'm actually not going to fully separate these three. I'm going to leave them connected so that I could just hook up the board side and then hook them up to the Arduino. Or they call it a Hero. Damn difference. I really don't think there's anything different in the package. As far as I'm aware, by the way that they're currently marketed, which is fine. Okay, now I did already have one in here before that I'm going to remove because I want to use this. I got pin 14 and 11 and pin number 8 hooked up like so, right there, right? And then this end I'm going to plug into the respective ports on our Hero board. Now in their example, the green LED, it goes into port number 12. So then I just have to go from top to bottom. I'm skipping one, so I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. All right, so that gets me hooked up down the way here. So far, electrically speaking, I've got the negative side of this circuit hooked up to the grounding rail, right, on this left side. And then from here, I've got the positive. The voltage on these pins when we program them are going to send 5 volts of electricity down this way, through the resistors, through the LEDs, back to ground, and then back to the grounding rail of the board. That completes the electrical circuit. Now, the only time that these pins are going to turn on is if we then finish wiring up this side, the switches. We have 3 switches, right, that are on our other side here, right? And right now they're in the off position. Now, electrically speaking, there is no electrical connection between our LEDs and our switches, right? That's what the board comes in for here. The board is going to control what happens via the programming logic that we put on the board, right? So we're going to feed 5 volts from the top of the switch, and it's going to ride down through the resistors, right, to be grounded out the rest of the way. But we're also going to have a pin here that's in the same series connection with the bottom of the switch. So the input that ends up being on our board here is going to read if there's any voltage appearing on this particular wire. And then any voltage that doesn't finish making its way to the board gets grounded out through the resistor to the grounding rail. So then there's no weird values being read offside of that. So now I'm going to do more madness and hook up even more tiny wires. I need to hook up the positive side of this to our positive rail, like so. And then I need 2 more to hook up here. So let me see here. I got that one. Rotate this and hook up the other ones. Now, something that I absolutely loved in high school was building a binary, I don't know if I'd necessarily call it clock. I'm going to say it's a binary circuit that you can actually increment through all the different numbers that were on the binary display. So you can count, I think it counted to 10, and you would wander through the different configurations by toggling the switches on and off to get the different numbers. By far, one of my favorite exercises. And it was one of those things that we collectively went back and forth from different classes to get stuff done. we messed up the circuit so many times when we'd step away and come back to it. So, friendly reminder, when you're working on something electrically speaking, and you're working with all these tiny little pins, these little wires, double check to make sure what you've hooked up is actually what you think it is. Otherwise, you can have a bad time. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to break anything, but you might not get the results you're hoping for. Let's see here, pins 26 through 28. All right, I have to slide this further down so I can see what on earth I'm doing here, because tiny. I may be wearing something that allows me to see what I'm doing. That doesn't mean I can see what I'm doing. 6, 7, and 28. Now, anybody who's ever worked with a motherboard before, you know what this entire thing looks like? It looks an awful lot like the I/O headers that you would plug onto your motherboard. A set. If you are lurking and you're hearing me, just know that all these tiny little wires that you're going to have to hook up between your computer case and your motherboard. You're gonna you're gonna have a good time. You get to hook up all the tiny wires. Let's see here. And then the bottom half of our switch that we're detecting is going to get plugged into pins 4, 3, and 2. 4, 3, and 2. You'll be fine. It's fine. Let's see. So that's 0. That's 1. That's 2. 3, and 4. All right, now I'm going to pull this a little off camera so I could double check my work here. It's on a fire. Oh, I hope they're good chips. I would hope so. That sounds delicious, actually. I'm just saying. 7, 6, 5, 4. That's 4. Now are these not going to push all the way down? Come on now. There we go. I don't want any of these loose because I don't want any of them getting any ideas. The other thing too is that don't panic if you do wire this up and something doesn't light up as you anticipated, because it might not have plugged something in where it belonged, which again isn't the end of the world on one of these kind of developmental kits. And then I got positive there, goes across the top, returns back to ground on the 3 of those. Make sure these are spaced out enough that I'm not accidentally shorting anything out. Now, don't get me wrong, I could absolutely trim the legs on these resistors to make them shorter, which, I don't know, depending on how dense the projects may get, I may do that. That sounds delicious, I know, right? Okay, so, electrically speaking, I think I got everything where it needs to be. So we are going to switch over to the code now. And we're going to sort that out. That's next on our list of things to do. Quick question, was the music not playing this entire time? Or did I just return when it was ending that particular tune? No worries, a set. Alright, let's see here. Video captures, that one. I mean, Aset, you're already in the process of making me some kind of awesome emotes for this channel, so honestly, the feeling's mutual. There's a reason, everybody, that he's got the artist little tag next to his name, because he's an artist and he does cool stuff. Straight up. Pyro, can you do me a favor and shout out a set? I don't remember what the command is. Yes! Yes, my artistic individual. I think you might be safe as said. I think Pyro is currently working on some other stuff right now. No! Just when you thought wrong. Everybody, give this set a follow if you're not already. The Bean makes very fun art. Very much so. You misspelled it. You'll be okay. I believe in you. Okay, so we're gonna fire up a new sketch here. I think I actually have to close that one before it'll let me take over COM 3, I think. I think it's grayed out. I'm sure it's probably fine. Verify. Oh, you know what, everyone? I know why it's not working. I didn't plug it in. I didn't plug in the USB port. Hang on a second. There's a reason that's not working. Weird. It's almost like I kind of forgot to plug in the USB cable. That's better. Okay, now nothing up my sleeve. Haha! Okay, it's there now. That's better. Yes, that would absolutely be the first step, is to plug in the cable to the computer so I could program it like a smart individual, which I could be on occasion. It's definitely not all the time. I do things. Some of them are brighter than others. Some of them are brighter than my LEDs than others. Ha! Oh no! Oh god, that's right. I forgot you're making me animated emotes. Oh, guys, I'm in danger. That's not good. Oh goodness. I'm sure they're gonna be delightful. I am very much looking forward to them. Oh my word. Okay, all right. I am getting heavily distracted. I do that. That's a good time. All right, let's swing on down here. I'm ready to make these things blink. Well, technically they're not gonna blink. They're gonna turn on. Okay, they're not gonna do the blinking thing. You do have the power. See, that's the thing I never understood, is that when someone upsets an artist intentionally, I don't really know why. Because they can draw you. That's horrifying in the context of upsetting the artist. Don't do that. You'll live longer. 10 out of 10. I don't understand. I don't understand. It's a lot of power to be able to do something like that. Okay, I'm mad. I know I'm mad. That's okay. But I do have my point, though. All right, first things first, we include the class so we can do stuff. And if I do some stuff and things. Oh, Hedgie, I know for a fact you're not going to do anything, but it doesn't clear my mind though, out of the fact that when people aren't nice to each other. I don't really think an artist would be really someone who I'd want to pick a fight with. I feel like that's a poor decision. But hey, that's just me. I type fast. No, I'm completely honest with you. When it comes to me working with code, there is a fair amount of code I will type myself. As I work through different projects, there's also a fair amount of stuff I will copy and paste. In this example, unless there's something that I'm going to particularly stray from the example, I'm probably just going to copy it and then we'll have to toy around with it. But this is something that if you want to get what these different things mean into your head, it would be better to type them just to get familiar with what all these different commands do. Now that is a classic example of do as I say, not as I do, as I quite literally copy and paste all this stuff. But this is just one of those things that if you want to get, better with working with this stuff, it doesn't hurt, Now, something I'm going to point out here is I'm very particular with what I'm selecting when I'm copying and pasting, right? There was an additional curly brace that's down here that I didn't include in my copy and paste, because that's a part of the beginning of this void loop. We already have both of those braces right here. One right there, one down there. And if I copy an extra one, it's gonna break. It's not gonna compile. So you can feel free to copy and paste, but do be mindful. Don't copy everything. If you copy absolutely everything, we'll just make sure that there's nothing in the project when you go to paste it, so then you don't accidentally dump in extra stuff you don't need. Oh goodness. I said, Pyro, play nice. All right, so we got that. Now I don't see any red lines. Now, just as an example here, just because I can, if I throw an extra curly brace on the end here, and I try to compile this to verify, it's gonna be upset. because I have an extra brace. Yeah, it says right here, exit status 1. Compilation error, expected declaration before the closing token. That is because I have an extra one in here that doesn't belong. Now, as you'll notice, there's actually this red that is on this line. Now, it's not super defined, but that's indicating where the problem is according to the compiler. I want you to understand something. When you are writing code, the red line to indicate where the problem is may not be where the problem is. There's plenty of times where the compiler will tell you where it quote unquote ran into the problem, which may not line up where the actual issue is in your code. So in this case, it's an obvious mistake. I added an extra curly brace, but I want you to be aware that sometimes that error could occur and it's not actually where it is. Indeed, red could indicate the issue, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's on the line it's declaring it's on. Okay? I want to be very clear with that. PowerShell's fantastic when it comes to that. When you get an error, sometimes the error is not on that end of the line, it's even where you're at. Now, I want to tell you about something that's going to completely blow your mind. Okay? You see how there's these numbers that are alongside all of our code here, right? If it turns purple, there's probably a dragoness nearby, would be my guess. You see these numbers here that are alongside of our code here? That is the line number. Now, I can tell you this for a fact. As someone who's worked with compilers, sometimes you'll get an error on line 85 when your code's only 49 lines long. That is a perfect example of the compiler knowing there's a problem, but it simply doesn't know where. I don't know why that happens, but I've seen it happen in several instances, and honestly, I laugh every time it happens because it doesn't make any sense. How could I have an issue on line 85 when I only have 49 lines in my code, including the white space? The answer is no. That can't be a thing, but it is. It's happened enough times, and I laugh every time. It's just like a keyboard error when a computer used to boot up back in the 95 era. You can get a keyboard error. Press F1 to continue. I'm like, wait a minute. If the keyboard's not detected, how am I supposed to press F1? Shocker. You can't. Okay, I don't remember if I click verify. I'm gonna click verify. Okay, the sketch has compiled successfully. Fantastic. I have all the switches in the off position. And so far, I don't see any smoke coming out of the bench. So that means that I have 5 volts connected in a fashion that hasn't made it an immediate problem. So that's good. I am going to send the code by clicking upload. All right, so this is done uploading. Okay, good. Good. Okay, I'm gonna switch back to the camera, and now we should be able to switch our cabin lights on and off at will. Yeah, all right, cool. Now, if this works, which I'm hoping it will, I will have configured everything the way it's supposed to be. If for some reason this doesn't work, that could mean that I didn't plug in one of these wires in the correct place, which means electricity is not flowing in the correct direction. Or we've come across another issue that I just didn't pick up on. It could be that I have something miswired or not plugged into the appropriate place. But as things stand right now, we have this set so that when the switch is in the off position, the LED is off, right? There's no blinking involved, right? If we put blinking in the code, then the lights will blink. But in this case, they don't, right? So if I did this correctly, I'm going to toggle the switch and we're going to get some light. I'm going to start with the green one first. And I've got light. And then I'm going to do the blue one. Wow, that is one very bright blue. And then the red one. Now I thought that was green, and that's very much blue. Wait a minute, no, the green's on the left side. I'm dumb. I went green, blue, and red. And if I scroll back up in the example, did I already forget what colors I was working with? I have, yeah, green, blue, and red. Okay, I do have brains in my head, and they're on layaway. Okay, so yes, so if I toggle that one back on, one incredibly blue LED, and they are all controlled via our tiny switches. Now the camera's having trouble. Let me turn this a little bit. There we go. I turn it that way. see less of the wires, you can see the LEDs are on. And then if I toggle, say, the top switch, all right, fine, the top two switches, you can see that those LEDs went out and the red is still on because it's controlled via the dip switch. Electrically speaking, there is nothing connected between the switches and the LEDs, which proves that everything's being controlled via the board right here. Now, since I have this hooked up and I want to have some fun with it, I'm going to turn these back on, right? And I want to go back to the code compiler, and I want to make them blink instead. Get flashbang! Hey, you better believe it. They're very bright. You think they're bright. I think they're bright. All right, cool. All right, we are going to do some manoodling here. I am going to open up our previous example so that I could grab the code that made them blink. It's just the delay. I know it's an on and it's an off, which I have both of those commands. It's just the delay. I don't recall what we did for the delay. I think, is it just the word delay? Might just be the word delay. That's the void setup, the void loop. Yep, it is the word delay. Okay, I don't have to look it up. All right, this is in milliseconds. So let's say that we're on, and then for 50 milliseconds, we stay on. Oh, we got some ads. We're gonna go back down to low. Y'all drink some water. We're all like house plants, but with feelings. You need water. Flashbang techie. Welcome back. I like the flashbang techie idea. I like that a lot. That's goofy. That's fun. Okay. All right. So on specifically just the red LED, which is, or excuse me, the green LED, which is the first in our lineup here. When we toggle it on, instead of just being on, it's going to flash really fast because we're going to turn it on, and in 50 milliseconds, we're going to shut it back off again. I'm going to send that code, and we're going to see how much of a rave this turns into. Pyro, what are you doing gifting subs? I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, we're booting up to the internet now. Yes, we got it. We're with it. Alrighty, I'm going to switch scenes here. I'm gonna hydrate the best I can. I'm liquid cooled at least sometimes. Mostly it's coffee, but right now it's water because it's later. Let's see here. I want that one. Okay, now I'm gonna hit the send button. Bloop. All right, and I broke it. I broke it. All right, now we're gonna go back over to here. What did I break? Okay. So let's see here. I missed a semicolon. The delay. I didn't include a semicolon. I'm bad man. Okay, that's better. And then let me verify it. Okay, now I can send it. Each of the lines require a closing item. Sometimes that is going to be curly braces, and if it's a line item, then it might just be a semicolon. Now, granted, learning the syntax is just playing with the code, so there's that. Live, love, techie on the bath. I don't know, I think we're gonna have to go with live, laugh, toaster bath. I'm just like, you know, singing and I'm dancing and I got my little bar soap and I'm going at it, you know, having a good time with no one else around. No one should ever bathe with a toaster. That's not a good idea. All right, protogens just do their own thing. Let's see here. I want to go back to this one. Haha. Okay. Now I'm going to enable the flashbang. The green one should blink really fast. Up and away. I think I made a mistake. Let me see here. What does this code do? If pin is set to high, which is on, we turn on, we delay. I may have this set in too low of a number for the LED to actually be able to turn off. Because milliseconds is a really small number. So let me add on an extra 0 and send that. Oh, you know why? I don't have an additional delay. That's why. Because I'm delaying of it being on, it switching off, but there's no delay, so you'll never see it actually turn off. So we have to actually add an additional delay here to be able to see that. So we're going to add a delay. After we go into the low position, save that, and then we're going to send it. Okay, so I got it, but I misread the way I wired my diagram. If I go back to our example here, I'm messing with the first pin that was controlled, so that's actually pin number 10. So if I want to make the green spaz out, I need to modify pin number 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control X on the keyboard to cut, and then I'm going to scoot on down to this pin. Fix my tabbing so it looks good, and then send the sketch. I made a mistake again. What did I do that time? Let me see here. Did remove it, so let's see what I did. I did something incorrect here. Yeah, pin 12. And then if I scroll up here, pin 12 is the cockpit lights. Okay, and if I take a look at my function, cockpit lights is... Oh, I see what I did. I modified, this is the code for the switch and not for the light. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to send it. Should stop all that blinking. Yep, okay. And then I'm gonna scoot back up here. Right, control the cabin lights. Right here. If the cabin lights are good, and then cabin lights pin high, cabin lights pin low. Storage lights and the cockpit lights. Ah, okay. I took out right here what was supposed to happen. Which, actually, you can't see it. Let me actually adjust the camera so you can see a little bit better. I took away what was supposed to happen when the switch is in the on position. So since I did that, the green LED is not on anymore. So not only am I going to put it back, I'm also going to put it back and add that blinking delay. So then if the cockpit lights are in the high position or voltage has been applied, then we turn it on, we delay, turn it off, we delay, and then the cycle continues. So let me compile, send. I am fascinated as to what I'm doing wrong here. I have to double check my wiring. It should be the green one that should be blinking right now. And it's the red one. So that means I don't have something wired correctly. Or I'm reading the board backwards. This cockpit light switch. The nice thing is if you hover this over this, you can actually see what's in these. Oh, I'm not on that input. Let me try that again. Okay. So yeah, if you hover over the code, you can actually see the pop out of what these values are set to. The value is 4, right? So let me see here. So value is 4. Cockpit light switch pin number 4. Oh, I actually want to modify pin 12, the lights themselves. So no, I did not put this where it was supposed to go. If digital read storage lights are in the high position, digital right. I might just be misreading those. Switch pin is 4. The lights themselves are pin 12. Right, so when the light switch pin is high, or there's voltage applied, then the cockpit lights, or pin 12, as we can see here, is then turned on, delays, turns off. Oh! Value is 10 for the cabin lights. See my problem? I see my problem. I see my problem. I copied the wrong code. So you can see here that I turn on the cockpit lights because it's pin 12. I delay, and then I turned off the cabin lights using that switch, which, as you can see here, is a value of 10. That's not what I meant to do. That was an honest to God mistake. I didn't mean to do that. This is where copy and paste can really eat you alive. I wanted to modify the cockpit lights. And if I highlight it, the compiler is actually nice enough to show me all the same text. As you can see in the middle here, that's not what I meant to modify. So that was a boo-boo. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it over that. Like so. Now, if I highlight it, haha, they all match. And then, when I verify... So, this is a perfect opportunity for us to talk about the difference between a syntax mistake and logic mistake. A syntax mistake is when you have something like an extra curly brace, right? You click the button and the code doesn't compile, right? A logic mistake is something that the compiler is more than happy to accept, but it doesn't do what you anticipate, right? I do not want to turn on the cockpit lights and having the cabin lights go into strobe mode. That's not what I meant to do, right? That is the difference between the two. And if I upload this and we go back to our camera, I got it right. Indeed, that is indeed the risks of copy and paste. Now, I was pretty confident I had the wiring correct when I first hooked this up, and I did. But as you can clearly see there, that's further proof that the switches have no direct control. The switch is not directly wired to the LED, and it's truly being controlled by this circuit board that we have hooked up to everything. Not that anybody would be doubting that at this point, but as you can see here, the first LED, or the green one, is now blinking really, really fast. And that is because we put in the delay to turn on, give it a moment, shut off, give it a moment, turns it back on, and it keeps looping until we turn the little switch off. So if I toggle the little switch off now for that particular circuit, you will find that only that LED turned off, and I now only have the blue and the red turned on. And I could do any combination of them. I could turn them both off, right? I could turn just the blue on, right? If I can get my hands in there. Right, and it's just that one on, right? Just the one in the middle, as we can see fit. Or we can have our green one on and our red one on, right? And no blue. Can I make purple? I need the right colors to make purple. Doesn't blue and red make purple? So if I technically just turn off the green? That's a good question. Can I make purple? Well, technically, I don't have primary colors here. I would need yellow. Or wait a minute, let me think about that for a minute. I mean, yeah, close enough. Sure. I digress. I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing the best I can. Oh, goodness gracious. Only red and blue. And green. Alright, fine. But yeah. So that is not only our cabin lights, but that actually goes to show you that we very much do have... I should have asked the artist. Red and blue makes purple. Alright. Red, blue, no more green. Excellent. Okay, now we have purple. I mean, realistically speaking, my camera is really fuzzy. So, at a distance, that probably does somewhat look like purple. Or better yet, let me turn off the overhead light. Make it a little darker in here. Ooh, now it's spooky. Yes, excellent. Indeed. Yo, for any of y'all who don't know, it's a spooky week. Wanna know why? Friday the 13th. Okay? Friday lands on the 13th this week. Alright? So be ready for the spooky, okay? Indeed! Indeed, Halloween is coming. It is coming. I am not writing off summer quite just yet. But I sure enjoy my Halloween. That enough to be said. Yeah, I am. I am right. In this case, I am. That's a good time. It's just a fun time. Spooky week. All right, that's fair. That's fair. I like that. I like that. We like that. Not too shabby. Ooh, a scary werewolf. That sounds like a good time. Gonna be extra spoopy, I hope. Better be. Good. artist. I'm not gonna question what those words mean. It's just the thought process, I know. Oh. Alrighty, let me see here. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Alrighty. Alright, this is gonna be our raid message. Okay, we are all gonna go say hi to Jay. I got the opportunity just recently to play Family Feud on Jay's channel with Lulu and Hound and a couple of other friends. It was absolutely fantastic time. Jay puts on a really good time. Plus, he has some super awesome music. He's usually listening to some really awesome electro swing. Absolute killer. He has got a fantastic channel to lurk in. So I'm gonna take us all over there. We're gonna go say hi. So I thank you all very much for popping in. For those of you who are lurking, thank you for stopping in. I do this on Wednesdays, usually around 6:30 Eastern time. So we are going to pick up next time. And we're going to continue our little wander through space. So thank you all very much for coming in, and I will see you all next time. Bye boy.
Boop and beep with light. Nice. We'll settle in, grab a blanket, get cozy. We're kind of vibing for the night. I'm very, very low energy, so I am just solving cases because I am a detective now. We're normally a little bit more chatterboxy, but I am quiet and focused and thinking and relaxed. So get yourself all cozy as well. Hope you have a good time hanging out with us. We got a wonderful community.